Hi everyone, a huge welcome. I hope you're all well, and it's Janice here. So today I want to take you through the steps I use to make this gorgeous purple bloom. I was so happy with it. The bloom came out so lovely, but I really messed it up at the end. I tried to be clever, and it just didn't work out, and it totally detracted from the bloom itself. So lesson learned. I won't be doing that again. So what I've got here is I've mixed my resin. I've got a 1-to-1 resin and I've mixed 120 grams. So now I let my resin stand for 20 minutes. It's on about 14 minutes at the moment. When we reach about 17 minutes, I will pour some of it into that little cup and I'll add my white pigment paste. And I've got my alcohol inks and my mold is level. So I always say this just for that, maybe that one person that hasn't done a bloom before and wants to do a bloom. All resins are different. So 20 minutes works for my resin. Your resin might be 15 minutes. You've got to just try a few different times. My suggestion is always use a small mold. Use one of the small coaster molds. Resin is expensive, and you don't want to waste huge amounts of it. So, I would suggest you start on say 15 minutes. If it doesn't work, go up to 20 minutes. But your resin does need to be warm, and it needs to be the consistency of honey. And what happens is when you pour that resin into your mold, the surface of that mold is cooler. So what happens is your resin contracts. It starts pulling towards the center of the mold as it cools down a little bit. And that is what pulls in your pigments and pulls into your pigment paste and forms the petals. So, finding the right time just to get your resin to that right consistency is important. I've just got to switch off quickly here. I think there's a troop of monkeys that have arrived, and I think some of my windows are open. Yeah, back again. A whole big troop of monkeys arrived on the property. I've just actually taken a few little pictures, a little video here for you. These are all the little baby monkeys, and they're very, very cute. But the teenager monkeys and the older monkeys, they try everything to get into the house. So I had windows open, and you can see how this one's taken some apple. They are so cute, but they are really naughty, and they've just got the sweetest faces. I wish it wasn't so, there's such a glare, you can't see their faces properly. But they are very cute, but oh my gosh, if they get inside, they open cupboards, they are just so naughty, but totally adorable at the same time. So I just thought I'd put that in there for you to have a look. I've closed all my windows now, so we're set again. They can't get into the house. So what I'm going to do now, we've reached 18 minutes, and I am just pouring about 25 grams. I don't need a lot of resin into my little cup. There's very few bubbles in there. With it standing for so long, the bubbles all came to the surface very nicely, and they've popped. Now, I'm not putting too much paste. That's basically 2 drops. I'm kind of thinking I wish I had put a little bit more white in, because your white is going to form the petals. And I think that my bloom, the petals on the outside of my bloom were definitely a little bit more transparent than I wanted. And that's one of the reasons that I had a bit of an issue, which you'll see. But even just to the touch now, I can feel my resin is really warm, and it's the consistency of honey. So I'm just placing that into the mold now. And I'm just going over it quickly with my heat gun, just to pop a few of the little bubbles that have come up. And then I always go around the edge, because I find that that's where a lot of the bubbles seem to cling to. Now that is just a white alcohol ink. And I've added that just to dilute the purple a little bit, just so that you get a more variegated color in the final bloom. And then I'm taking my resin with that I've added my white pigment paste to, and I'm just kind of doing little half circles. And I'm going to do that right up to the very edge of the mold. I have sped this up quite a lot because it is quite time consuming doing it. And I'm sure you don't want to have to sit and watch it all in slow motion. And of course, the trick is trying not to get blobs. So if you do get a blob, just try and thin it out straight away. Just pull it a little bit with a little stick and just try and smooth it out a little bit. And then I just covered it to leave it overnight. And this is where I went wrong. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to put some of this chameleon powder just around the edges where there wasn't, there was just that little empty space. And I just thought the green would go nicely with the purple. But my big mistake was I didn't go in far enough. So I just went around the edges, and I should have brought that powder a lot more in towards the center, because you'll see what happens now when I demold. And then I did a black background, and this is where my problem came in. And then off video, I actually just sprinkled some sparkle, holographic sparkly stuff on the back as well, which I haven't filmed. I think it would have looked really lovely just with the black. And once again, I just used my heat gun to get the bubbles out, and I covered it, and I left it overnight. So this was the demolding. That was the sparkle I just added in. And you'll see, I should never have used the chameleon powders because I didn't go far enough in. So now what is happening is you can actually see the black. So if you see there on the left hand, there at the bottom. So if I had pulled that chameleon powder further in, it would have been above the black, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's just so pretty, but I do think that spoils it a little bit. I'm sad that I didn't pull it further in towards the center. But, I think just with the black, it would have looked a lot better. So that's it. Kind of have a love-hate with it. The petals are gorgeous, but I did ruin it with that chameleon powder, definitely. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. And I've always said that I'll show you things that went wrong. And I do think that, yeah, it could have been better, but I will definitely try again.